Which way he's going to serve, and he tends to be very effective. Oh, we're going to see an Owens defense.
Yeah, so that is very rare with Black. You can tell Radjabov doesn't believe in his chances in an open game, in a Sicilian, in a King's Pawn opening. He, as Black now, he's about to set up with the hippopotamus defense.
Wow, this looks strange.
Frankly, already thinking it's only move 5. He does castle the White King. Radjabov bringing his knight to the centre now.
And I also have to bear in mind that didn't Magnus play something very similar with the black pieces?
Magnus has played everything, Ivanka, in his lifetime. He loves to experiment with new openings, and there we see Radjabov bringing his knight out. So it's not a pure hippopotamus defence where Black would actually have put his knight next to the other knight, especially between these two guys. All the pieces on the board for a long time.
It's going to disturb him that much.
Magnus loves this type of chess, but I completely disagree. I think that anything else Radjabov would have tried, if he played any opening he's played in the past, I think Magnus would easily have neutralised that. Calling fianchettos, both bishops on the longest possible diagonals, I think that would have been maybe one way to unsettle Magnus, and it's going to be quite effective.
Yeah.
Black castling, I expect to see Magnus very quickly bring his knight out to that square, the 2 white knights keeping the White King nice and safe. Perfect formation.
Really cleverly saying to Radjabov, how are you going to play with your lack of space?
Yeah, and actually, just trawling through my memory banks, I do remember just randomly tuning in to Chess24 Twitch, and Chess24, they put on these great Banter Blitz sessions. I remember Radjabov playing a Banter Blitz game against a very strong player, and he used this setup as Black, so not the full hedgehog, but this exact setup as Black, pushing the central pawn. Magnus has 2 hours to try and beat him, but in a rapid game, I think it's a great practical try.
OK.
At least. From experience, I think even top grandmasters, they don't like this type of tension when they only need a draw.
Continues in the centre. He's like, I'm not going to push a pawn forward. I'm going to keep on asking you.
Black's dark square bishop to come out to.
Yeah, there we have it. And that's a nice move.
Yeah, openings, they often transpose to each other. You can play lots of different moves. You can play them in different orders, though. It's like a passive square, but OK, Black has developed his bishop now, and I would expect to see Magnus Carlsen jump forward with his own bishop. If not now, then over the next few turns. Spending a bit of time, I expect... OK, he pushes a pawn first, so slightly strange to move the queen across and then not fulfill that idea by bringing the bishop out to that right side, but maybe he's saving that up for later.
I really like that bishop trade, and it's just designed to soften up the dark squares around the Black King. I mean, because it does look at first sight a little bit anti-positional. You know, you're like, well, what's the Black bishop doing there? You know, it's just passive, it's stuck behind a pawn, but it's such an important piece with so much potential that once you get rid of it, then Black will start to have a little bit of problems with the safety of the king.
OK, he brings his bishop back. Wow, that is... It doesn't trade pieces, that is good, but it does mean that this bishop is internally bad, and there's always going to be tricks later on.
Luxury move where the king will have a hiding hole for... Oh, but we have a move. And the move is a little bit unexpected, because I fully expected this waiting game to continue until one side cracked. We do have a move from Radjabov.
Computer doesn't like it.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's pushed his pawn so early, and also I'm surprised he's pushed his pawn 2 squares. I expected that pawn to step forward 1 square to undermine White's central pawn, but with this pawn pushing it 2 squares, I don't really see what Black's threat is. There's no immediate idea. You're not opening up the centre, which you need to do at some point for Black. Yeah, very strange by Timur Radjabov. The analysis board actually just to show what might happen right now. OK, he follows my idea. He just pushes this pawn forward 1 square. Ivanka, I think you wanted to capture this pawn en passant, because it has just moved twice on its first go, and we do know that if you have a pawn on your 5th rank, if your opponent moves 2 pawns to try and bypass it, you can actually capture as if it just moved once. And this would have been fine as well. Maybe White could push forward on the left, but Magnus, he switched the play to the other side. Look at this pawn structure, Kaya. Whoops, in the current position, sorry. If we catch up with the game, then... Now, Black has pushed his pawn forward on the left. This is completely blocked. I mean, I'm trying to find an analogy for this one, but this is completely blocked on this side. The centre also completely blocked. And players all going to be about this right side of the board now, who can manoeuvre better on this side. Black retreating his knight. The queen stepping forward. It's just completely blocked right now. All pieces still on the board. Black starting to switch his pieces. Note how he's starting to switch his pieces towards the right side now. Later on, White's knight stepping back. Later on, Black will move this knight. He's training the bishops first. He's going to move this knight later, for example, if the rook moves. And later on, it needs a lot of preparation, but he's going to try and break with this one eventually. I expect to see 20 moves of manoeuvring first.
Yeah, and the manoeuvring has begun because Magnus has just played one of those mysterious rook moves where he's moved his rook to in front of a pawn. And it looks like that rook is not going to do anything. So he's getting ready for that battle, that opening in the centre. And so he's getting ready to push this pawn 2 squares forward and just to release the rook. And before he would do that, I agree, David, I think we're going to see a lot more manoeuvring. OK, we're going to see the trade of bishops, and the king tucks itself away in the corner. I would be tempted to carry on building. I wouldn't be tempted to do something immediate now. I would be move my rook towards the centre, get ready for the big action.
Look at Magnus's expression, though. He's surprised by that last move. He was maybe tempted to push forward. OK, he does retreat his queen. That queen retreat was about to happen anyway. Black was about to just retreat his knight next to the black king and kick that queen away. So Magnus preempts that attack on his queen, steps her back. Magnus, he's getting ready to maybe throw his f-pawn up the board. So to create some tension in the centre, maybe finally open up some lines. I should say, though, 23 moves, the last turn, we did see that trade of bishops. Finally, some pieces have cleared off. They have been hoovered off the board.
Yeah, I was going to say we have to see some intelligent thinking from Radjabov because he has to prepare for that pawn break.
So the move... White goes for it immediately. I was about to say this is the move we're looking for from Magnus. If not now, then at least very soon. And he goes for it immediately. He doesn't hang around. The pawns do get traded off. Black about to install a knight in the middle.
Every single piece on the board. And so the rook, OK, he's not taking my advice. I was like, pick up that rook that's not working and move it on the open line. But instead...
He'll use that idea shortly.
Yes.
If it's possible, there might be some drawbacks, but he has to try and support that knight in the middle of the board. We might see a trade of knights, but Black would just replace his strong knight with the other one. And now maybe it's time, like you say, to bring White's rook in the corner into the action. First, OK, I was about to say first maybe White could centralise his knight, but no, he does bring his rook into the fray. And, OK, trade of knights. Black's going to install a second knight into the middle of the board, if possible.
Now you have a choice, actually. I was going to say I was going to retreat my rook in order to liberate the diagonal for the queen to start looking at the black king.
Then maybe the black queen will join the action. So I think you need to bring your rook up the board to block off that black queen. Black's bishop stuck on his home square, while Timur Radjabov, in this must-win situation, brings his bishop out, sacrificing his bishop, but he has severed the connection between the 2 white rooks. White's rooks no longer connected. That bishop move, it's either very good or it's very bad, but Magnus, he is calling Radjabov's bluff. He sacrifices his rook for that bishop. Now with pawn takes pawn, Black's queen attacked by White's remaining rook. That black queen's going to have to move away, and Magnus, despite the fact he only needs to draw, he's sacrificing. He's going on the attack now. And it does look very good for White, I must say. Black's queen, I think the main issue is Black's queen doesn't have a safe square.
Yep.
No matter where the black queen goes, she's going to be in trouble. OK, she goes to the edge of the board, attacking White's knight.
It's the most natural move.
Yeah, the more the bar thinks, the higher it goes, saying 8 advantage for Magnus Carlsen. What's happening here?
Yeah, the white knight did jump in. Knights on f5, they will thrive. And that white knight is beautiful. White's pawn as well, stepping up, checking the black king. The black king's actually trapped. You just need one killer blow to actually check it later on, to checkmate it. White's knight, meanwhile, just snacking on pawns.
Just everything is falling apart.
Yep, so that black rook was attacked. It attacked the white knight, the knight stepping back to its dream square. There were other squares as well it could have used maybe, but White's knight protecting that white pawn, that intruder in Black's position next to the black king. White actually has 2 pawns now as well for that exchange sacrifice that we mentioned earlier, for that material. White's pawn stepping forward, clearing a square for the white queen to check that black king along a light square diagonal.
It's deadly.
Black king is doomed.
I'm just really impressed by Magnus's play, and Radjabov does make the move that I suggested, but very, very little.
Is it basically over? Is Magnus with 1.5 foot in the final right now?
I think, yeah.
He's almost there. He just needs to control his emotions, not get too excited, and he's nearly there. And Magnus is so ruthless when it comes to these type of positions, and he has this ability as almost superhuman just to keep himself calm.
Yeah, so white's queen did give check. Black's rook had to block. Now the bishop steps back, attacking the black queen. Is that queen trapped? It's almost trapped right now. Actually, maybe it is trapped. The black queen about to drop off the board as well.
How to attack without sacrificing pieces. Well worth a check out. And
Radjabov resigns with the black queen about to be trapped.
It's over. Magnus Carlsen is the winner of the semi-final against Radjabov. He is ready for the big final in the